Hey, welcome back. It is now February 20th of 2020, and a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise and exactly how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to really handle this new Star Wars universe that's going to consist of movies, TV shows, books, novels, comics, video games, and more to come. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one aspect of the Star Wars universe that a lot of fans have been looking forward to is exactly how Disney and Lucasfilm plan to reunite the fans to really bring the Star Wars community together, because there's no doubt about it right now that there's a great divide between fans ever since the release of The Last Jedi, and it even made it somewhat worse with the release of The Rise of Skywalker. There was a lot of fans out there that had issues with this movie, and that is perfectly fine. I myself was very mixed with The Rise of Skywalker, as you all know if you have seen my review and my initial reaction of the film when I came right out of the theater. Now, looking at everything related to the future of Star Wars, we do know that as of now, Kathleen Kennedy no longer has creative control over any of the existing Star Wars projects that's in early development throughout the 2020s, which is really good news. It's really a light at the end of the tunnel, in my point of view at least. But the one thing that Bob Iger, the Disney CEO here, is actually trying to do is that he's trying to leave behind a great legacy for himself with the Star Wars franchise and this new universe that he is currently planning with Lucasfilm and the creatives on board over at Lucasfilm in order to really evolve the Star Wars franchise into something new and different. Now, with that being said, now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with the sequel trilogy, they are moving on to their new Star Wars universe and other projects that will change the Star Wars franchise. Now, it's explained that Disney has a plan to reunite the fans, who have had problems with the sequel trilogy, and that they are trying their absolute best to save Star Wars and to make it as successful as it can be for this entire decade. Now, it's noted that currently Disney CEO Bob Iger has a plan to have creator George Lucas reunite the fans by allowing George Lucas to have full creative control over the new Star Wars universe, where it's noted that George Lucas will be the one responsible to bring back a majority of Star Wars Legends stories and characters back into canon on both the big screen, streaming, and in books and novels, and that this is Bob Iger's plan to satisfy the hardcore fans and to also create new fans. Additionally, it's explained that George Lucas will also be attached to the new Star Wars trilogy of films, along with both the writers and directors for these new Star Wars films that will be released in the near future. Now, it's noted that George will also be bringing back Hayden Christensen for two projects that are in the works, such as the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series and another project that will feature Anakin Skywalker in some way, shape, or form. However, it's unclear if that project will be animated or in live action. Also, George will be working with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau on some of the retcons for The Rise of Skywalker and even The Last Jedi to create a new experience for fans once they watch the films after researching the new expanded universe next year in 2021. So, the thing about George Lucas, obviously this is, of course, his way of reuniting the fans. This is ultimately a decision by the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger. Now, obviously, Bob, he wants to leave behind a great legacy for Star Wars before he leaves next year in 2021. Again, I've actually expressed this before in the past that I'm still quite worried exactly what the Star Wars franchise is going to look like after Bob Iger is gone and whoever takes over as head of Lucasfilm. If it's not Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau, hopefully it will be somebody that is far better than that of Kathleen Kennedy, far superior than how she could ever even handle Star Wars, right? Because let's face it, there's no denying the fact here that Kathleen Kennedy really is incompetent as a leader of, Lucasfilm and of the Star Wars brand in and on itself. So George Lucas seems to be the key here, seems to be the answer to really bringing Star Wars back on its feet. Of course, he's not going to be directing major Star Wars films, but he will be attached to the new Star Wars trilogy and some of the new projects in the works for Disney+, and especially working with both Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau on the retcons of The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi for this new Star Wars expanded universe, which I think can be quite risky, but I think it's going to be pretty much a necessity at this point in order to really get things rolling again. Now, the hardcore fans obviously are going to be very much invested with this new Star Wars universe. It's all a matter of how Disney is going to transition the existing Star Wars fans that aren't necessarily hardcore fans, and more so on the casual side, how they're going to get invested in this new EU, right? Now, that's the thing here. Are those fans really going to invest in the new Star Wars universe? That's a big question open on the table for discussion, right? Now, the last thing I will say here is this, is that George, at the end of the day, created Star Wars. You know, there's no other man out there that knows Star Wars better than George, because he created back in 1977 with A New Hope. He created Luke Skywalker and the concept of the wills, I mean, so on and so forth. And that's what's so special, by the way, about the Clone Wars Season 7 that's going to kickstart tomorrow, is that it's actually said that that is really going to tell more about George's legacy, because George himself actually partnered with Dave Filoni to create that series. So you can really see how it's going to wrap up his legacy in some way, shape, or form with the Clone Wars Season 7. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.